Hi, and welcome back to my little film and TV channel. And we're going over to Netflix again today for a romantic science fiction drama. There you go. I don't get many of those. We get plenty of science fictions and dramas and romantic dramas, but combine the two. We're going to have a look at something called Needle in a Timestack. There you go. I think that's a great title. A lot of people don't like that. I like it. I like the title just to begin with. Perhaps not so much the film as much as the title, but yeah, silly but good for me. It is a science fiction after all, bit of fun. Written and directed by John Ridley, based on the short story of the same name by Robert Silverberg. And it's currently showing, and I watched it on Netflix on the 9th of August 2022. So I watched it at about lunchtime. Yes, I mean, I just do these things. It's not a nighttime watch for me. This is a nice sort of lunchtime watch. It's not exciting enough to be an evening watch, that's for sure. What are people thinking? Well, Rotten Tomatoes, I've got all Manchester there, sorry. Rotten Tomatoes audience gave it 3.3 out of 5. So that's 6.6 out of 10. So that sounds pretty good. Although the Internet Movie Database, Joe Public, people like you and me, not quite as enamoured, only 5 out of 10 based on 1,545 scores. There's a few 10 out of 10s and a few 1 out of 10s, and they more or less cancel each other out. So you're left with 613 people scored between 6 and 9. And just slightly less, 585 scored it between 2 and 5. So again, we're getting to the 50%, aren't we? 51%. The stats say positivity. So, okay, that's fine. I'm going to be very boring later on with my score. The film stars Leslie Odom Jr., Frida Pinto, Cynthia Erivo, Orlando Bloom, I've not seen him for a while, and Jaden Wong. Released in the United States, way back in time, but you'll say it's on Netflix at the moment. Check your streaming site in October 2021, so a few months ago as I'm recording this, by Lionsgate. So if you go over to the critics themselves, the critics' sites, Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, 36% only positivity on Rotten Tomatoes. That's based on 50 critics, which isn't great. 18 positive and 32 negative, so almost 2 to 1. And it's getting an average 4.6 out of 10, so a little bit down on the public as far as the critics are concerned. Metascore, the other thing we look at, Metacritic, scores anywhere between 25 out of 167 out of 100, and there's a few 40s to 67. They're mainly in the ascendancy. There's 12 reviews have been left. And again, just averages pretty close to Rotten Tomatoes, really, 42 out of 100, so not great. Let's have a look at some of the critics themselves, the guys. Peter Sobzinski from RogerEbert.com. He said, this takes an undeniably interesting premise. Yes, I agree there. And then fails to make good use of it. It's a shame, it could have been done better. Interesting how it started off. I thought it was going to be a little bit darker than it was. We'll talk about that in my brief summing up. But it was sort of... You could put your own twist on it at the end as well. The ending was okay. Actually, the ending was okay. I liked the ending, but it was sort of right in a disappointing sort of way. But you'll get that if you ever watch it. And I wouldn't put you off particularly watching it, even though I'm not going to rave over this one. Bob Strauss from the San Francisco Chronicle, he said, if emotionally intelligent science fiction does it for you, this is a good way to soak up some smart feels. So there you go. Perhaps I was intelligent sci-fi is my cup of tea. Perhaps not. Yep, I tend to agree with Bob there. It's from San Francisco Chronicle. Interesting concept. Could have been handled a bit better, or a lot better. And it wasn't perhaps in this what turned out to be more romantic drama than sort of it could. I think it could have been a bit more psychological thriller drama, but hey, that's by the by. I didn't write the script, so I have nothing to do with it. The film stage is Jared Mubarak. He's on Metacritic. He gave it 67 out of 100. He liked it. He said, I don't think John Ridley's Needle in a Timestack quite reaches the full potential of its conceit or concept. I think that should read. He says conceit there. I'm sure it's concept. But it comes close while overcoming any early preconceptions. Yeah, nearly good, I would say. Yes, nearly. It's a nearly film. When I do my football reviews, I have nearly players. This is a nearly good story for a film, a nearly film. Slap Magazine's Mark Hansen, he wasn't overly impressed. He was under 30%, about 20 odd out of 100, I think, from memory, because I've not wrote it down. The film is too blinded by manufactured sentimentality to see the more compelling what-if scenario lying right in front of his eyes. Again, I would totally agree. I'll say, well, just go on to my summing up now about that. My biggest problem, I'd say, apart from that it didn't sort of progress in the way I wanted it to, was the lead, Odom Jr., who for me lacks a little bit of investability, but despite some more interesting female characters, and of course the other guy we've mentioned, I forgot his name now. Of course, Orlando Bloom, who could have been a more interesting character as well. The men were a bit weak in it, and I think it sort of was a problem for me watching the film back. Certainly, because I thought the women were far more interested in their characters. Yeah, and he was just as far as a character. I'm not saying as an actor. As far as a character concerned, it's just his selfishness never quite worked for me. So I never quite invested in him when he was trying to do things and get all emotional with the ladies in his life, if you like. And it was a bit below the standard I expect of a leading man to actually make me want to watch it. He just didn't. I found him a little less interesting, perhaps, than he could have been. As I say, not particularly the actor's fault, just the way it was portrayed. The film itself won't live long in the memory. I just feel the concept, as I said or hinted at early on, was underutilised. Yes, as a romantic drama, they could have sort of done a little bit better with it, but even more so, I think it could have been better played out. And it did start this way, the first 15, 20 minutes. You thought you were going to get more of a psychological thriller element to it. And that sort of fell by the wayside as the film progressed, and it came a bit all romantic and, not as interesting as it could have been. And it sort of fizzled out, sadly, for me. So that was the problem with it. So yes, we saw some scores early on, didn't we? 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10. So I am going to give it a score. I think it's definitely worth a score. I wouldn't say it was an hour and a half wasted watching it, but yeah, I'm just going to give it a 5 out of 10. An okay, meh. I won't put you off watching it. Not a disaster, but it could have been so much better. Could have at least, based on what I saw, been a 6, 6.5, even a 7 out of 10. Be given a different concept and a different way of doing it. But so slightly disappointing. But as I said, interesting concepts. I did like the concepts. It made me feel that it was quite cleverly done. I probably have seen similar films and the idea before. Obviously, I've seen time travel, but I'm just talking the way it was utilised in this particular film. Was quite clever. It just sort of, it's a shame that the story in the end let it down. Thanks for watching anyway, guys. Please, until we meet again, stay safe, everyone. Bye for now.